Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's intuitive tapping break. So today, usually what happens is I will pull some cards and we'll just tap on whatever comes up, or if there's an anchor or something that's coming up for me personally as a theme, sometimes I'll just pull cards and do a general tapping session around that to help others who may be experiencing the same thing. But today I thought we'd try something a little bit different and go within a little bit more and pay attention to the moon phases and then branch out from the current moon phase. Now, the moon phases is not something that I work with them very much, and that's very much a core part of the energy management practices that I incorporate for myself and that I tap into and help other women become a part of in my energy management mentoring. But it's not in order to become synced up with the moon. This, I feel like, is trying to manage and manipulate your energy in a certain way so that it becomes in resonance with something, when actually what we really want to do as women, as mothers, is we want to use things to add a template or put a layer over top of how we feel in our personal energy cycle in order to understand exactly our own energy cycle, right? So we're not trying to sync up to the moon, we're trying to sync up to our own personal energy cycle. And the moon phases can help us do that with the phases as a template, right? So currently right now, as of April 17th, we are in the middle of the first quarter. So I don't know if that's going to focus in or not. That's okay if it doesn't. But so we're in the first quarter moon phase, and the first quarter moon phase, sorry, no, I'm not focusing. For me personally, this is the Moonology Oracle deck card from Yasmin Boland. And I tend to, at this point for myself, not necessarily use too much influence from other people with the moon phases and what it represents, because it's all a personal representation, it's all a personal interpretation, and it really just ultimately stems from where you are right now and how you feel and what the general interpretation is about that current phase. So anyway, the first quarter moon phase is the card that's come up for. That's the card I chose because that's the phase that the moon is in at this moment. And it's asking us, or it's saying, your commitment is being tested. So for myself personally, I don't necessarily like to feel like things are constantly being tested. I think we can get really lost in feeling like things are always a test, or we're always trying to prove to someone something, whatever it might be, that we are doing a good enough job, that we are doing our part, that we are committed enough. But we can use this as a jumping off point for me when it comes to the first quarter moon phase. It's a yang energy phase, which means it's more of a propelling forward. It is a generating and cultivating the momentum from within to take action and to take aligned action with your values and your priorities at top of mind. Now, this week in the Energy Led Living membership, I actually went another layer deeper to say, applying this to places where you're being drawn and where your alignment is kind of like your inspiration, your intuition is guiding you and leading you. But then also, how can you apply this to the places that are being demanding in your life? So we are mothers and women, and we all have, responsibilities and obligations, and sometimes we can't just fall in line and things don't just fall into place, and we can't always just lean on our intuition and be energy led, right? So where are your attention demanding you to take action, and how can you tune into the actions that you're doing, whether you like them or not, whether, like I said, that's a demand, it's a responsibility, it's an obligation, whatever it might be. How are you able to show up to that with your values, with your energy, with your current energy values in place? So in the membership, I also have a bonus masterclass that goes into what I call floating values and priorities. So what that means is you're essentially, however you feel, high energy, low energy, you have a value that is represented during that energy, because our output is never going to be the same day in, day out. We fluctuate. We have energetic fluctuations mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, that, are introverted, extroverted. We go through all the paces, right? So in each energy, that we experience in each energetic state that we're experiencing. Where are you? Are you in a high state or a low state? And what is your value? How is it represented? How do you honor that value in that energetic state? So we really want to take a look at our commitment to ourselves, our commitment to our energy, our commitment to how it is that we're showing up in a certain way, and making sure that, yes, we have obligations, responsibilities, and we have to show up in some way, shape, or form sometimes that we don't necessarily feel innately or intuitively, but we have to show up and do it anyway. And then, can our default state be our energy-led selves? Can it be our energy-led state? And I think that's a question that we'll pull for this first round, actually, is allowing the default state to be our energy-led living state, meaning that's where we are just being drawn to, right? Can we live by what we're being drawn to in a certain moment? And can we take a look at what demands we have, responsibilities we have in our life, and can we find that cohesion and find that harmony between the two, right? With our drawn states, our energy-led living state, with that being our default state. So I'm going to pick a card and we're going to do some tapping around that. So this is perfect. So we pull the card, full moon in Virgo is you are good enough. And so as we are having our commitment here, as we are moving through our time, our space, as we are taking action towards maybe our goals, our intentions, maybe it's just the day-to-day routine that we have, the responsibilities, the obligations, the to-do list that we have, we're committing to that, but how are we committing to it? What state is our energetic beingness in? And are we able to tap into that and do the things that we need to do anyway? And can we trust that we are good enough? However we are showing up is good enough, right? So we're going to start today by tapping on the side of the hand, taking a nice gentle breath in and out. And you can repeat after me, even though sometimes my time and energy and attention is being demanded by things outside of my control. And I do legitimately have to put out these fires. I love and accept that part of me today. Even though it would be nice to just go with the flow all the time and to allow my energy and inspiration to lead. That's not reality, and that's okay. I honor and acknowledge that I do have this part of me that does live from an energy-led state. And I love and accept myself anyway. When it comes to my day-to-day life, I tend to focus more on what is demanding my attention, what is demanding my energy and my focus. And it feels like there is no room for me to just go with the flow. I acknowledge this part of me today. I'm ready to meet myself where I'm at with complete love and acceptance. Okay, take a nice gentle breath, and we're going to move now to the top of the head and say, it must be nice. Eyebrow point. To live from an energy-led state. Side of the eye, all the time. Underneath the eye. But that's not my reality. Underneath the nose. If I did that, nothing would get done. Underneath the mouth. I would let my house go. Collarbone point. My kids would be feral. Underneath the arms. I would abandon or neglect something in my life. Underneath the chest. It's not safe for me to just go with the flow. Wrist points. I have to go where I'm demanded. Top of the head. I have to accomplish my responsibilities. Eyebrow point. I have to take care of my obligations. Side of the eye. Before I can do anything for myself. Underneath the eye, or before I am able to allow my energy to lead. Underneath the nose. Part of me does not believe I am good enough. Underneath the mouth. To just go with the flow. Collarbone point. I need to be organized. Underneath the arms. I need to have really good time management. Underneath the chest. I need to be on the ball all the time. Wrist points. Today, I would like to choose to believe. Top of the head. That maybe I could entertain. Eyebrow point. Going with the flow. Side of the eye. For a certain amount of time. Underneath the eye. Or doing a certain activities. Underneath the nose. And to just witness what comes up. Underneath the mouth. What I think and how I feel. Collarbone point. When it comes to energy-led living. Okay. So just take a nice moment there, take a breath, stretch. You know, usually tapping, it really does shift our nervous system into a state of, you know, rest and digest or rest and repose. And it really does settle our mind, body, and soul, right? So we want to give ourselves space for that. So if you're yawning, if you have tears, if you're crying, or if you just have watery eyes, there is a difference there. There can be a difference there anyway. If you feel like stomach gurgling, digestive stuff coming up, if you feel like you need to stretch, if you feel a little bit fidgety, like you cannot settle, that's okay. Allow that to be like that. Allow your body to do its thing. Allow the mind to settle to some degree. Allow your emotions to settle to some degree as much as you're allowed or able to accept for within yourself. And yeah, just really noticing what comes up for you. So the thing is that with EFT, we can really get to specific core beliefs, specific thoughts and emotions, specific connections, or yeah, it's really just like habitual beliefs that can stop us from or create resistance in order to keep us from doing things the way that we actually want to do them. And the more specific you get about what comes up for you during that tapping round, that's the good stuff that you get to work on. That's the good stuff that really, like, if you took a moment and you really tapped through that and you really allowed just unconditionally those feelings and those emotions, those physical sensations, those thoughts to come up for you and to just be released and moved through the body, through the mind, through a cycle, through like to completion. What's on the other side of that may be very surprising. And EFT is a very quick tool to be able to help you get from one side to the other. And not to say that you completely worked through what you were going through, but it does give you, you know, the option of looking at things from a different perspective. So the next card that we're going to pull here today, if we are committing to what it is that we're committing to the energy that we do things in. So regardless of whatever it is that you're doing, if you have a goal, if you have an intention with the moon, if you have a project that you're working on, if you have just day-to-day stuff that you want to get through, is cultivating, being mindful and cultivating the energy that you would like to present, like what you value, right? So with me, my values, like top of mind, is always reverence. And so if I can do the dishes with reverence, if I can talk to my kids with reverence, if I can take care of myself with reverence, that is my commitment to the energy that I am bringing with me as I do the things, right? And I'm cultivating that and generating that within me as I go about my day. And is that good enough? Can that be good enough? And the Virgo full moon, if we take a look at this in just general area, Virgo is very detail oriented. Virgo is very organized. Virgo really is about health and service and of utilizing every aspect of something in order to, use it to its fullest potential. And so whether you feel like you have limiting beliefs, those beliefs were there for a reason. They have helped you in your health and wellness to some degree, to some extent, and they have helped you create organization, detail, and a structure within your life, right? And so can you take a look at where that has helped you, where maybe you're ready to move past it, where maybe you have really learned as much as you can learn about that, being in that time and space and having those those beliefs or that way of being or doing. Okay, well, we'll just take those two out then. And so really taking a look at, can you, kind of go through that with a little bit more fine tune of a comb. And the full moon obviously is the amplification or the illumination of what is within. So whatever we're not really dealing with, it's going to tend to come to the surface during the full moon, because that full moon is a spotlight. And if we're not dealing with what is going on within us, if we're trying to push it away or not look at it, if we are trying to override it in some way, shape, or form, like especially with the subconscious, you can't override the subconscious unless you look at the subconscious and integrate it, right? So as we do that, it's so funny because tomorrow we move into the waxing gibbous moon. So you're very close to achieving your goal. So as you think about this, the actions that you do and the commitment to your energy and the way that you value your energy in the fluctuations in the different states, when you take a look at those energetic states that you're in and you honor and commit to the values that you hold within that and the way that you kind of sift and sort through what's coming up for you and doing it in a good enough, and that's like, you get to define good enough, and you're doing it in that way. As you get closer to what it is that you are working towards, whether it is just your values, whether it is just getting through the week, whether it is getting through a to-do list, whatever it might be, whether it is a goal, you're getting really close to achieving that. And here we have the North Node card, which is about stepping out of your comfort zone. So again, the North Node is not our default state. Our North Node, what I was taught was that it was the path, or like the quickest pathway to enlightenment. If you want to like fast track to enlightenment, take a look at your North Node. Take a look at your default state, which is your South Node, which is what you've brought in. If you believe in reincarnation and past lives, it could also be, if you don't really take on that belief, you could use it as what you've been taught in this life, what you have been conditioned to believe in this life, what you've observed and absorbed other people's and doing, and you think that you have to take those on. Take a look at that default and then step out of it and ask yourself, does that really serve me anymore? And this is, again, Virgo. Does that serve me? Does that honor the truest, most genuine part of me? And again, you're getting close. So I love how this is like kind of a progression from the first quarter into the gibbous moon, where we are working towards what it is that we want to achieve. And we're able to take a look at it. We're able to be grounded and centered and discerning and going through things with kind of more of an objective or neutral lens, so that we can step out of our comfort zone and we can say, okay, so this is my default state, is to look at all of the places that I'm being demanded to look at. This is all of the, my default state is to take care of all the demands first, the responsibilities, the obligations. And then what I really want, though, is to be able to take care of myself so I can feel fulfilled and I can have that generation of momentum and energy within me, so that when I go out and do the things that I need to do, the demands, the responsibilities, the obligations, I'm doing it from a completely different energy. I'm not doing it from a depleted state. I'm doing it from an abundant state of energy. So let's do another round of tapping here, just to anchor in that it is enough that you do things in that way. So let's tap on the side of the hand again. And we're gonna take a nice gentle breath. And you'll say, even though sometimes it's hard to get out of default mode, I have a very strong autopilot mode. And this has served a great purpose for me. I'm curious if this still serves the same purpose as I move forward. And I love and accept myself exactly where I am and what I discover as I'm moving through this process. Even though it's really hard to change sometimes, I really find the unknown and uncertain difficult to work with. I honor and accept that part of me anyway. But I'm curious if I tune into what I really want, my genuine self. What does that part really want? And is it what I have, or is it beyond? And I love and accept myself exactly where I am. As I move through the rest of this week, doing the things that I have to do, I wonder if I am able to be open to observing how I go about my week with a neutral lens, so that I can learn where I can amplify and expand into another version of my most genuine self today. And just taking a nice gentle breath here, we're going to move now to the top of the head and say, it seems like when I start to make a change, eyebrow point, I get so close, side of the eye, and then I revert back into default mode, underneath the eye. I just about get to a new place, underneath the nose, and then I go back to old ways, underneath the mouth. I forgive myself for believing today, collarbone point, that I'm not making any progress, underneath the arms, that I am not getting any further ahead, underneath the chest. And I forgive myself today, wrist points, for believing, top of the head, that it's just not good enough, eyebrow point. I wonder if I could choose to believe today, side of the eye, that how far I've come so far, underneath the eye, has created huge success, underneath the nose. I've created like big time progress, underneath the mouth. And I'm a lot further than I think. Collarbone point. I'm grateful for where I am today. Underneath the arms, because where I am today, underneath the chest, was where I wanted to be at some point. Wrist point. Some version of me wanted to be here today. Top of the head. So I trust that I'm doing enough. Eyebrow point. I trust that I am moving with purpose and progress. Side of the eye. And I trust that every single time, underneath the eyes, every time I move out of my comfort zone, underneath the nose, every time I make a little bit of progress, underneath the mouth, every time I move out of that autopilot state, collarbone point, I am creating new habits. Underneath the arms, I am creating progress. Underneath the chest, and I am grateful that I have wrist points, this desire within me. Top of the head, to keep going. Eyebrow point, to keep changing and shifting. Side of the eye, to keep with my commitment. Underneath the eye. And I love and accept myself exactly where I am today. All right. So take a nice gentle breath. Really allow that to land for you, however it needs to land for you. If you only picked up one little piece of this today that was like, yeah, that makes sense to me, perfect. If nothing makes sense to you, that's totally fine too. That's perfect too. There's something else that's waiting to come in, or maybe you needed to hear something and say, no, that's not what I want to hear, in order to make space to hear what you needed to hear. Or maybe then nothing's coming through at this moment, but there is something that will be coming through when you move throughout your day, right? As you're doing the things. I know a lot of the time, you know, especially the first quarter, moon phase really represents taking action and doing anything that involves action, anything that involves extroverted or output of any kind, like especially physically. So if you are, you know, doing your day-to-day to-do list, if you are doing your taking a look at your checklist for your goals or whatever it might be that you're doing, if you're doing anything that's in regards to that, perfect. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing. If you don't know what to do with those things and you tend to find yourself, you know, being drawn to procrastination, so you're doing something completely different than what you know you need to be doing, you're still doing something, right? So the only time that we really need to kind of be curious and kind of, you know, really be honest with ourselves is if we're not doing anything, if we're staying still. So, and even then, I do want to say nothing is ever actually still. You may think that things are standing still and everything around you and within you is moving anyway, right? So physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, whatever you want to say, in all the ways. So you're never actually standing still. We can never actually be stagnant. Even in a stagnant puddle, there's still like bacteria and energy and everything in there moving. So it's not stagnant. You don't want to drink it, but it's not stagnant, right? So I think it's really curious sometimes to take a look at some of the things that we've been taught that are not like, they're not helpful. You know, complacency. I just had this big epiphany about complacency. If you actually look up the word complacency, it comes from, I think it's like self-satisfaction. It's like you're satisfied with yourself, right? And you have very little worry about, what's next, so to speak, right? And I mean, like, why is that a bad thing? I mean, again, if we take a look at it from the point of view of nothing is ever still, nothing is ever stagnant. Things are always moving and changing, even on such a microscopic, a microscopic way, right? From a microscopic lens, like there's always things moving. I mean, energy is constantly in motion. So you can't, it's not fair to say like, oh, I can't not do this, or I can't stay still or be still because I'll stay there forever. I'll be stuck, I'll be a statue. It's not true. It's not true. So anyway, food for thought. I hope this was a good session. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found something of value within this. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. You can connect with me over on Instagram at Megan Mesita, or you can go check out my website at meganmesita.ca and check out what's going on over there. But until next week, have an amazing rest of your day. And if you'd like to look at this deeper, if you'd like to really get into more of a commitment of working with this energy and energy management in general, head on over to, I'll put it in the link, the Energy Led Living membership. It is twice a week. I'm coming in. We're going through the moon phases. We're picking up on different energies and themes and whatever might be coming up individually and collectively. And we're really moving through it so that we can get kind of to the core of why it is we do certain things or be a certain way, and how to work with it, how to leverage that energy, right? So we're all moving through our own personal seasons. Collective is working through its own personal season. And so we can leverage the energy, however dysfunctional it might seem, however comfortable it might seem, however complacent it might seem, however agitated and chaotic it might seem, we can leverage it and we can help you make the most of your time. So that being said, have an amazing rest of your day. We will chat with you all very soon. Bye for now.